start the class within 1 moment with research, very briefly to 3:30 today. Okay, as you remember, in our last sessions we talked about the features of research, and at the beginning to clarify what research is, according to John Leedy's book, the title is Research. As I introduced it in our first session, to clarify what research is, as I mentioned, we have talked about what research is not. And we talked about those features of what research is not, like it is not merely gathering information, or rummaging of information, or to advertise, something. This is, in fact, the difference between what is known as information and knowledge. Since information has been gathered, or the data is gathered here and there, but knowledge is something that is used for the improvement of the ideas, as it is seen with the science or the scientific fields, be able to produce something rather than to copy something and then show the ideas. This session, I'd like to talk about different parts of a proposal, and then I'd like you to write, a title, and then we will discuss about the titles, whether they are acceptable or what are the features of a good title in different forms, whether it is affirmative or in a question, form. In fact, the ideas do not come, from the sky suddenly and fall in our basket and then we start writing something. No. First of all, we have to consider our matter of interest, whether, for example, we are interested in different genres. That is, maybe one person is interested in drama, another person in novel, another in poetry and verse. So, first of all, try to identify your field or matter of interest. It is important, because if we are not interested in, for example, novel, and then we decide to work on different novels as our research proposal, research thesis, later on we surely face with lots of problems. But if I am interested in, for example, drama, I like it, I interestingly search for different sources, I like this field, so enjoyably I will continue my research. This is, the first part, so focus on the matter of interest. The second part, from the very beginning, try academically and systematically think about different principles and procedures that you are going to follow to concern about the for example, about the area that you like to work on, whether the sources that you are looking for are available in time. If, for example, it takes more than 1 or 2 months to gather the data, to gather the sources, the books, the articles, again you will face some problems, and as I have experienced, most of the students are disappointed with this fact. So these are very simple, but they are very important for, you see, the students looking for different, you see, materials, but after 1 month they see that, oh my God, these sources are not accessible. Where can I see, or shall I, you see, find these sources, these articles, these, you see, books? So please be careful about these, you see, trends in your doing your, you see, research. It is very, very important. And then try to plan everything from the very beginning of your research to its very end. For example, how long do I need for gathering information? How long do I need for my somehow reading and studying these sources? How long do I need to write down the notes, arrange them, type them, copy them, or print them? How long do I need to analyze the information? Okay, try to consider about you see 9 months at least for finishing your research from the very beginning. That is thinking about the subject, thinking about the title, about the research proposal, since at its very beginning your research proposal and title must be confirmed and approved by your supervisor or by your advisor, by the head of the university, by the committee, and then recording and registering it in Pajoueshyar, that is, you see, the site. Again, these processes, the approval of your research proposal, and after that you are able to begin your thesis. As it is clear, they are very simple, see, writing, but they are complex and confusing if you do not do these processes on time. And as I mentioned, you are maybe, you see, disappointed with the subject, with the sources, accessibility of the sources, and many, you see, other let's say predictable or unpredictable you see elements with your work. So plan everything from the very beginning. Planning is very important. As you remember in our other research classes like essay writing, I also mentioned you that everything for writing an essay from the very beginning must be what planned. So for a research proposal and research thesis, this is much more important. So if you do not follow the rules and the principles of writing a research, again, you certainly face with lots of problems, and then you are not able to finish it on time. So you know that if it is not finished on time, again, you have to pay the fees of the universities to extend one more semester, and financially and spiritually you will have some problems. So think about, for example, I'm thinking about the subject for 2 weeks, okay, search here and there, to different websites, libraries, to learn something about what you are going to work on, whether it has not been worked yet, since if it is done by, you see, some others, and now you are going to show some other aspects of it, again, it is very problematic. So do it, and then, for example, 2 weeks or 3 weeks for gathering information, for collecting data, for finding the sources. Maybe you are working on, for example, a subject that the sources are not available, or many sources that they are sufficient for doing a thesis is not available in the libraries or universities or in your country. Then you have to order some other sources from the overseas, and it takes a long time to somehow send them to you, and then it is easy, but again, if you do not mention, it will bring you to some problems. So after that, about how long we need to do the rest of our thesis, consulting with the supervisor, consulting with our friends, even writing it. Okay, then even the ending of your, you see, thesis, or the ending of your research, because a research paper from its very beginning to its very end must be done systematically and academically. Your gathering information, everything must be documented. We cannot say that some, you see, lines, and as if they have been told, you see, or mentioned by some other researchers in some other papers, and without clarifying them, without citing them in our work, suppose that it is, you see, ours. It is very serious, and if it is more than 6 to 9% of your thesis, be sure that it is rejected, because finally, when you are going to sit for your viva session or defending session, see, there is a committee, your supervisor, your advisor, and some readers. So they will go through the work very carefully, and if there is any problem, specifically, I mean, even this matter that is plagiarism, without your work that is without citations, or you copy or paraphrase some sentences mentioned by the others as if they are your own writing, then you see, completely the work is rejected. So that's why I tell you that everything in writing a research paper, a proposal, and a thesis must be done very carefully, very thoroughly, and systematically and scientifically, from the very beginning to the very end of it. Now, what are different parts of a proposal? The first thing is the statement of the problem. Today I will tell you the statement of the problem. You think about, you see, a title or some titles for our next session. If the done is arranged and settled down, then we will discuss more on the titles, you see, undone. But this is, you see, your assignment for next session. Think about the statement of the problem. Write a very clear set of the problem. As you remember, the statement of the problem may come from the previous studies. You study different articles, different texts. From there, you can have your own outcome. That this is what I'm going to work on. For example, on the place. First thing, if you decide to work on place, for example, first thing, whether you are interested in place of, for example, the Elizabethan age, the modern place, the postmodern place, the American playwrights, the British playwrights, all right? For example, I may come to the point that I am interested in modern place. Then I start reading and studying many things on modern plays and modern, you see, playwrights, the features, go through some of, you see, the plays and playwrights, and maybe I finally come that I'd like to work on, for example, Arthur Miller's plays. Okay. Then I will focus on Arthur Miller. Start reading some text on Arthur Miller, some critical, you see, text, some reviews on this writer, browsing some of his plays, and think that, okay, at this stage, I like to work on Crucible or on, for example, Death of a Salesman. Again, I should focus on Death of a Salesman. Again, read some articles, read the play carefully. And through these articles, I may find that, yes, there are some important points that some of the other papers and researchers have not worked on it seriously or in detail, on some concepts, for example. And then I start reading about this problem and finally may come to some important points and important questions. The questions also can be divided into some sub-problems, and these sub-problems, when they are gathered, lead me to the main problem. Suppose that I am interested in, for example, historical or Marxism related to Arthur Miller's. So I start reading some articles on Marxism and Arthur Miller. And finally, I come to the point that, for example, some aspects of Marxism, for example, different ideas by Marx himself, by Adorno, by Gramsci, by Habermas, and some others, have not been mentioned thoroughly. So I will find these aspects, I start reading these aspects, I start reading the theory, because we need later on a theoretical framework and a theory that can be applied to this work. For instance, rationalism in Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. Okay, one aspect. Or feminism, maybe another aspect. Okay, or from the psychological point of view, we can apply psychological theory, for instance, by Freud, by Jung, by Lacan, by Kohler, or others, to display from the feministic point of view, for instance, Ellen Seixo or Kristeva and some others, to this work, and try to find some features ignored dealing with this play, and then I start working on it. And meanwhile, I will continue my reading and studying see these ideas in different works. Then through it, I may come to some problems. I will focus on the problem. And as the statement of the problem in my proposal, I have to clarify everything. Everything that is documented at the same time. Okay, then I will explain it to justify actually what the problem is, to clarify the subject to the readers as if they do not know about this problem. And another thing that is to be able to write it correctly without any problems, since it is the beginning of my proposal. And then if there are lots of problems at the first glance that a reader goes through them, we see that it is not does not here create a very good atmosphere. And again, it is, you see, a problem. So try to use simple structures, simple sentences that you know that they are absolutely correct. And then start writing and clarifying the problem within 1 or 2 pages with correct and definite citations about the problem, what it actually is, and the theory that you are going to apply and for what reasons. After this, you are able to think about your research questions, your research objectives, and try to write your research questions after the statement of the problem. So this is your assignment for next session. Think about different subjects you are interested in for doing your research, and later on we will discuss whether they are good problems, acceptable problems, or they are not acceptable. Thank you very much. Do it for our next session.